Dredge is what you get when you take a cozy fishing game and give it a good shot of chthonic horror. But it can be a bit overwhelming when you first start, because the game quite quickly turns you loose in the world with only a bit of guidance. Personally, I had a ton of fun taking in the game's spooky vibes, and I spent way too much time catching fish because I wanted to see all of the aberrations. And along the way, I made a good number of mistakes. Plus, I found some great strategies. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over all of these things, the mistakes I made, the things I learned, and the tips and tricks that got me through along the way. Let's get into it, starting with tip number 1, don't fear the dark, or at least don't fear it too much. Because the first mistake I made was being way too conservative with the nighttime. The minute the ocean got all spooky and that eye appeared above my compass, I thought something bad would happen. So I either immediately went back to port, or I wrapped up my tasks such as catching a specific fish, and then went back to port. A good rule of thumb here is to watch the eye. If it's blue or green, you're totally safe, don't even worry about it. If it turns orange or gets a really scary red, that's when you have a problem and you should probably head to the nearest port. But there are plenty of fish that only come out at night, so the sooner you get comfortable with the darkness, the better. Personally, I didn't really feel that comfortable until I got to the Stellar Basin, but if I had been more comfortable sooner, I would have gotten a lot of the valuable fish in the Marrows and the Gale Cliffs, and definitely had better gear by the time I got there. As a little bonus here, have your light on to combat the panic, as panic will rise more slowly with the light on, but if you approach a spooky red curtain, turn the light off. The curtain will go from red to white, and you could harmlessly pass through without gaining additional panic. This all begs the question, what happens when you reach full panic? Well, if your panic gets too high, rocks start appearing out of nowhere. I never actually hit any of these, but they really are quite stressful. And when it gets very high, monsters start chasing you. If you don't yet have the Banish ability, this is where things get very spooky, as you have a limited amount of time to get to a safe space, such as a dock, or you're going to get a game over. Luckily, even if you do have a game over, it just resets you to the last time you docked, which is basically the start of the day. And once you have the teleport to Blackstone, you can always use that to get yourself out of trouble if you stayed out a little bit too late. Tip number 2, use your Spyglass. Yep, this was a mistake I made early on as well. I wasted way too much time spinning my ship to look around for fish, or sailing over to a patch of fish only to find out it's not actually what I needed. As you turn your ship, time passes. As you sail, time passes. But you know what doesn't cause time to pass? Spinning the camera. So you can instead use the Spyglass to locate fish without causing any time to pass. By taking a look at the Spyglass, you can find your next target and path there more efficiently, meaning you get to spend your valuable daylight, or your valuable sanity, catching fish, dredging treasures, finding material, and progressing quests. Once I started doing this, I was able to catch more fish in less time, and if you have the Iron Rig DLC, you can upgrade the Spyglass to mark fish on your map, which makes it really handy for coming back later, especially if you didn't get the aberrant version that you wanted. Which brings me to tip number 3. Trophies and aberrations are a goldmine, because not all fish are of equal value. And yes, the game makes it clear early on that larger fish are more valuable, but larger fish also take up more space in your hold. So I started to try to catch larger fish, and I would often run out of room very quickly. Thing is, there's a better way, catching more valuable fish, which are also smaller. The first valuable fish type is a trophy fish. When one of these appears, you will see a gold mark on your fishing minigame. That means you have the opportunity to catch the trophy fish. Time your pull carefully to instantly catch it. Yes, this saves time over the normal catch, but it has a downside. You could say it has a catch-22. If you fail, the trophy is lost, and you can continue on to try to catch the normal version. There are also aberrations, strangely mutated versions of the game's fish. These show up randomly, but there are some things you can do to influence their appearance. Look for equipment with aberrant chance. This increases the likelihood of an aberration showing up. Also at night, watch out for lights glowing above schools of fish. That means there's an aberration waiting for you to catch it. If you have the Iron Rig DLC, well, there's a way to guarantee aberrations, and one of the powers you get in the late game also transforms regular fish into aberrants, though it does come with a pretty big downside. This is one that I caught on to pretty quickly. It only took a shark or two for me to realize there had to be a better way and figure out what it was. Tip 4, there's free money, specifically in the form of crab pots and trawler nets. both offer you a way to passively gain fish every day, which is especially important if you're going to do a bunch of salvaging and want to upgrade your vessel, as you need money to pay for those upgrades. Like with fishing, crab pots lead to different things depending on the region and depth you place them. As soon as the mechanic was introduced, I bought like 3 of these, and then after a couple days, they earned me their entire value and then some. I basically just stuck them right outside the main town because I'm lazy, and who wants to go remember where their crab pots are? It's not like they're on your map or anything, and who wants to have to ferry between the dock and the crab pot and the dock and the crab pot to sell anything? No, just drop the crab pot right near the dock. Unless there's no fish there, then maybe put it somewhere else. Another way to passively make income is by equipping a troll net. You equip this in the net/fishing section of your vessel, and you may need to expand your hold a little bit to actually hold it. So yes, there's an opportunity cost, but after you deploy the troll net, it passively catches fish several times a day. Better nets, more fish. You can sell these fish when you get back to a vendor, or use them to complete quests. As much as I like the troll net, I typically only used it when I was salvaging because it takes up valuable space that could be used for a fishing rod instead, meaning that I was often without the ability to catch all of the fish types in my vicinity. Though if I knew I was going after something specific, or if I was doing salvaging, then I would put it on and get the free passive income. Tip 5. Use your powers. Oh, and those fins are perfectly normal and nothing to be concerned about. Like with a knight, I was initially hesitant to use the power because of increased panic, but over time I became more comfortable with each. Haste was the first one that I used, and I used it all the time. Just be careful when using it in narrow corridors. If I had a nickel for every time I rammed into a wall at full speed while using haste, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't worth much, but it's weird that I didn't learn my lesson after the first time. Teleport to Blackstone seemed like it was mostly a narrative thing, because you have to go back there to drop off every artifact, and I wanted to spend all of my time exploring. The thing is, it's also a great safety net if you're ever out on the open ocean, you get too much panic, pop the teleport, head to the dock, sleep, and recover. Now, Banish is the other ability that I used liberally right as soon as I acquired it. Being able to scare away dangerous creatures is great, just remember they can return once the spell's duration ends. And last up, Atrophy. Another one that I was a bit hesitant about, as the game says the fish will never recover, and I didn't want to end up playing in an empty ocean. Now, in that regard, I've got some conflicting info, because the game makes it sound permanent, but the wiki says it will respawn after a monumental 3 weeks. I don't 100% know what the truth here is, but also 3 weeks or 21 days is a huge amount of time, so I guess I could see it being practically forever. The good news is, there's another way to use Atrophy that isn't so destructive to the environment. Drop some bait, then use Atrophy to reap the fish that you just spawned. You don't get a ton of fish, but you do get that guaranteed aberrant, which is good for completing your collection, and you used up a fishing spot that you artificially created with bait. How do you get another one? Just drop some more bait. Tip number 6. You have to deal with each of the game's denizens differently, but they aren't that scary, because outside of Amaro, each of the game's zones has a dangerous creature. In the Gale Cliffs, a large fish attacks you. You can use your speed to outmaneuver it, and then, once it wanders off, catch your fish before it returns. Alternatively, you can do what I did early, and just let it hit me. As long as I made sure I had a backup engine, this worked out because after the creature hit me, it slipped away, leaving me in peace for the rest of the day. In the Stellar Basin, I wasted a bit of time trying to deal with a Kraken at first, and then I realized for this one, all I had to do was follow the main story, meet up with a researcher, progress things, and unlock the ability to banish it temporarily, which leads to the power that lets you banish it pretty much on a whim. Again, though, the spell's duration is limited, so be careful with that. When you reach the Mandrake-shrouded tangle in the northwest, a new creature appears, the Mindsucker. This one's attracted to movement, so you can always hold still as time won't pass and wait for it to move away. Then, in the volcanic ruins of a Devil's Spine, small fish swim around your ship, slowing you down, and attracting their mother to take a bite. Head over to the volcanic vents to chase them away. I found this one super easy as the vents are all over the place, and worst case I had Banish, so the fish and their swarming was never an issue for me. Tip number 7, puzzle shrines have some really cool stuff. If you ever see a shrine with an ominous red glow and some fish around it, or I should say a fish symbol on it, that is a shrine puzzle. These involve catching specific fish, often aberrations, bringing them to the shrine, arranging them, and when you do, you are rewarded with a piece of gear. Some of these are great starter items that eventually you'll want to replace because there are more efficient options, but others are worth even in the late game, because the main difference between this gear and the gear that you get by your research progression is it has an increased chance to catch an aberration. My personal favorites are the Talisman, which is actually from one of the main quests in Devil's Spine. It gives you a ton of fishing speed and a generic aberrant chance on everything, and the Crab Pot from Gale Cliffs. It's good for the same reason. You get a ton of aberration chance, and as I wanted to catch all the aberrants, I very much needed aberrant Crab Pot outputs. With the normal pots, you could put a bunch down if that's a pain, just put one down that has a better chance. The Troll Net from the Pale Reach DLC is pretty good, and the Hoist is decent as well, though neither of them are strictly required if you don't want to solve the puzzle, or in the case of a Troll Net, you don't have a DLC. Tip number 8. It can be tempting to build the biggest, baddest, beefiest engine as soon as possible, and use it to cruise at high speeds. And this works until you get hit, because if you get hit and your engine is disabled and you only have one engine, you're going to be left a sitting duck. So instead, it's better to have multiple smaller engines packed into your ship, or at the very least, if you do have a big one, make sure you have a couple of small engines like jet drives as a backup. I figured this one out early on, and it served me very well. Eventually I did go for the big old max speed engine, but that's because I had a few jet drives as a backup. Speaking of, now is a good time to talk about some early upgrades. You use research parts to unlock new rods, engines, and more. But what should you prioritize? Personally, I like the hydraulic rod. This allows you to catch more fish, as you can now harvest ocean varieties. I also think the efficient crab pot is a good choice to complement the outboard motor and the troll net, because you don't get too many choices in terms of your initial unlocks when it comes to motors and troll nets. After that, I like going for the versatile rod, because it provides a one-size-fits-all solution to your general fishing needs. And after that, the next most important thing is the jet drive. Not only does it have very good speed, but remember, it also means if you take a hit, all of your engines won't be disabled. If you want to know more about what upgrades that you should be researching and what to prioritize, in the very near future I'm going to release a video on the best gear in Dredge, so get subscribed and keep an eye out for it. That brings me to tip number 10, something else you should keep an eye out for: exotic fish. These are often hidden away, such as in a cave, behind a waterfall, or in areas that you need to use explosives to access. These fish can only be caught once and are extremely valuable, so make sure to sell them while they're fresh. I actually have a funny story about this one. The first exotic fish I caught, I did not know was an exotic. I was just like, ooh, a cool fish. And then I sold it, and then I kind of panicked a bit because I was like, oh no, that was a one-time catch fish. What do? I sold it, I didn't turn it in the quest. Yeah, turns out you don't have to give the fish to the traveling merchant, you just have to catch the fish. So unless you mess up so badly that you don't actually catch it at all, you're totally fine if you sold it by accident like I did. And worst case, even if you do all of those things, if you have the Iron Rig DLC, there is exotic bait which you could use to catch them again, so I guess they're technically not one-time catches if you have the DLC. And so those are my 10 tips and tricks for success in Dredge, many of which were shaped by mistakes that I made early. But first, one more, a bonus tip if you will. Don't forget your reading, because several characters give you books to read, and you can select one of these from your cabin. Once enough time passes, you complete the book and gain a permanent bonus. This is something I did from the start, and it made a huge difference, especially when it came to getting around, because engine efficiency is one of the first books that you get. So anytime you get a new book, start reading. And so, with the bonus tip out of the way, those are my tips and tricks based on my experiences playing Dredge, the Pale Reach, and the Iron Rig. There's quite a bit to do in the game, both from a gameplay perspective, where there are 230 different fish/aberration variants to catch, and also some quests to solve, some mysteries to explore. So, good luck in your sailing, and don't let the darkness bite. I promise, it only bites a little bit, except when it doesn't, and then it's really bad and you're back at the dock, starting a fresh day, specifically yesterday. But with that said, if you've been playing Dredge, if there's anything that you're struggling with, and especially if there's something you were struggling with and you figured out a way past it that's not talked about in this video, please comment it down below. Might help some other people. For now, I'm going to get working on that best gear video, because the sooner that I start recording it and editing it, the sooner it'll be done and the sooner you can watch it. So for now, thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed. If you want to see all of my content, then do be sure to join my Discord and give yourself the notification roll. That way you see all the videos I make, rather than just ones the YouTube algorithm thinks you should see. But with that, I'm going to get going. I'll see you in the next one.